Yes, my name is Jean. I am a group facilitator here at Vista Clinic. We're going to wait a moment or two just to see who all is joining us. For those who are already on, thank you again for joining us. I hope that you find this interesting. Please stay tuned until the end. We would like to give you some information as to how you can get hold of us, where we can do more talks similar to this, perhaps for you or your company. So we would really like to reach out and really do these kind of things a little bit more, get the information out there, perhaps help people a little bit to understand us more, bring a little bit of calm, and just make it a little bit better for everybody. Um, so as you probably know, as you probably saw from the promo that we did, we're talking about managing the Coronacoaster, the ups and downs that we are experiencing during this time. I'm actually just waiting to see if we can start going ahead with this. We've got everybody on board. All right, well that's good enough. I've talked to less people. That's fine. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit. So let's answer the question: what is the Corona Coaster? In other words, what is causing us to experience this? We already know that we call it the Corona Coaster because we have these ups and downs. We have these, as you hopefully can see there on the screen, we have these fluctuating emotions. Part of that is because we have our coping mechanisms that fluctuate as well. They are fresher, they are newer, and then they get drained. And because of that, we deal with things better, or if you'll allow me, a little bit worse at times. And then, of course, information plays a big role. I'll be having a fairly okay day. I might go on Facebook or on other social media, and I'll start to have a look at there. And then I'll start seeing news, and I'll start getting information. And sometimes it's just pure confusion. Sometimes it's bad news. And that can bring us back down again. Um, then, of course, social, or not rather social, but isolation in itself has been shown to be a contributing factor to depression. It can cause us to feel really down if we isolate it for too long. Now, we are expected to be isolated. We're not supposed to go visit family and friends. Those of us who are still working from home, or those of us who are perhaps not working, taking care of the kids and so on, we do isolate ourselves. We do start missing people. We do start wondering how everybody else is. And that personal interaction is just not there. A little bit later, we're going to talk about how we can combat all of this. As I said, right now, I'm just going through why we're experiencing this. And then, of course, the big one of the big ones, which is very prevalent at the moment, that is fear and anxiety, which absolutely goes hand in hand. And a big role is played by the uncertainty that we are experiencing. I've already mentioned social media and media in general and all the things that's going on with that. Add on to that the uncertainty of what is happening with us, what is going to happen with us, what is happening tomorrow. For some of us, it's what is happening this afternoon. So that level of anxiety, generally speaking, we as humans, we do not like uncertainty. We don't like change. We've already gone through a whole lot of change. So that fear and anxiety plays a big role. And then next minute, we calm again. We calm because, hey, I'm at home. Perhaps the kids are sleeping. I've done all the little things that I wanted to get done today. So I experienced this level of calm. So now the coaster has gone down again. We're feeling a little bit better. Another thing that plays a big role, and we'll talk about this again a little bit later, is looking at gratitude rather than loss. Looking at gratitude rather than what we don't have. But we do have these periods on a day-to-day basis where I'm grateful that I have a job. And then a little bit later, we have bad news. Perhaps someone has just gone to hospital. Now that gratefulness goes away, and I'm suddenly back down again. And then we have something that else that plays a big role for us is the realizations that we have. I don't know about you, but through this time, when you have those moments of calm, when you have those moments of clarity, even, you sometimes have these realizations. Hey, you know what? Perhaps it's not so bad. We've seen reports of animal life getting back into different places that they weren't before. there's less movement and so forth. So we look at that and we think, oh, that's really nice, that's really good. Um, but then we also have other realizations where, if you see on the screen there, we say there, support systems. I suddenly realize, hey, you know what? Before I could reach out to so and so and they could come over and they could help me with this or that, be it putting up a picture or looking after the children or whatever the case may be. But now I realize that that's no longer possible. So I realize that a big part of my support system is gone, and up and down goes the coaster again. One of the other big role players with this is loss of control. We don't like loss of control. We like to have the idea that we are in control. Again, we're going to talk about this in a minute or two with regards to control. But it's a big factor where we believe that if we lose control, if we are out of control, we do not feel safe. So when we don't feel safe, we start climbing back up this ladder again. We start going back to fear and anxiety. We start going back to feeling isolated and things of this matter. So as you can see, these can be separate, but they do influence each other. And that makes the whole feeling of going up and down of this, as we call it, roller coaster ride. That makes that even worse. That makes that even more prevalent. And the last one we have here is a feeling of being overwhelmed. And that can come fairly easily, depending on the coping mechanisms that I mentioned at the very first line. Where if my coping mechanisms are low, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. If I am not used to change, or some of us don't do well with change full stop, so then I feel overwhelmed a lot easier. We tend to feel overwhelmed, we tend to have a loss of control whenever we feel like we can't handle something. And at the moment, there's a lot of that going around. And of course, again, it influences other factors like we start feeling insecure, we start feeling anxious again, we start feeling isolated again. Okay, so that's the coaster. That's how we get to where we are. That's why we feel the way we feel. So let's start looking at why is this happening, or what causes this, other than the elements that we've just discussed. What's behind this? Now, from a trauma perspective, or the trauma element, as I like to call it, one of the things about a traumatic situation, I'm sure we're all familiar with what is trauma, what constitutes trauma, but these factors play a big role in trauma. One, that there is an irrevocable conclusion. In other words, I can't go back and change this. If I break a window, it's easy enough, I can get it fixed. It's not irrevocable. But something that has happened to me that I cannot change, that I cannot go back, that I cannot replace, that I cannot make new or make different. And this is what is happening at the moment. We cannot go back to pre-COVID-19. We can't go back in time. So that we have this element of irrevocability. Then there's an element of fatality or fatalness, meaning that usually we have the element of death very far away from us. We tend to keep it far away from us, generally speaking, because it's not a nice thing to think about. But we are faced with real death. People are dying. I don't want to cause anyone to be scared. Please go look at the stats. It's not as prevalent as we think, but it is happening. There's some level of uncertainty. If I were to get the virus, what's going to happen to me? Will I be okay? Won't I be okay? Again, if we look at statistics, if we look at the treatments that are available, most of us, the majority of us, are okay. But there's other elements of fatalness in that, or fatality in that. For some of us, it's too much, and relationships go away. Those relationships die. That's dying off. That's fatality of that relationship. Some of us have lost our jobs. That isn't coming back again. We might get other jobs. Perhaps later on we might realize that we are needed again. But for now, it has happened. That job is no longer. So that element is there. Then, as we've mentioned, and I kind of start feeling like I'm harping on this, but our coping mechanisms play a massive role. And when they start failing, or when they fail completely, it's very difficult for us to actually live life, to actually deal with life. So if our coping mechanisms fail, that's a big concern. And then there's another point of trauma, and that is that it's unexpected. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this came out of the clear blue sky. I don't think anybody, perhaps a handful of people, knew that we are in for a bit of hardship or a lot of hardship. We didn't know this was going to happen. And I think when it happened, a lot of us were of the opinion, it's going to go away again. It's not going to be that bad. What is all the trouble about? And then reality set in. And that was unexpected. Um, we started having things like lockdowns. We started having all these rules. We started wearing masks. A lot of people were having trouble with that. So it was, all of this was very unexpected. So it takes us a moment to get used to it. And that also forms part of this whole Corona coaster, as we call it. Then, incomplete intentions. And I'm going to combine this with the last um, line here, which says cognitive behavior therapy. I'm going to explain this to you as fast as I possibly can. And by the way, I haven't had any questions. So if you guys have questions while I'm talking, please put them up so that we can answer them. But incomplete intentions. Most of us in January were full of hope, as we generally are in the beginning of a new year. One of my colleagues was saying they were going to go overseas. They were going to go visit another country. Another person might have felt like, you know what, I'm looking forward to starting my new job. Another person was, I'm going to get into that course that I was going to do this year. I'm going to do that. I'm going to start working on that enhancing my life thing that I wanted to do. And so on and so on. We had hope, we had dreams, we had goals. And then this happened. So now what basically has happened is we've got a whole bunch of intentions, goals, dreams, ideas that we wanted to complete this year, that we wanted to do this year, that are now left literally in limbo. And that plays a big role in our lives. Now, there's two things that we can do with incomplete intentions. We can decide, literally, cognitively, to let them go, or we can complete them. Now, some of them we can't complete. We can't go overseas. So if that was one of your goals or one of your ideas, that's not going to happen. But we have to get to making a decision which one of those we're going to do. Are we going to let them go, or are we going to try and complete them? But we need to be careful and rational about that, because with that goes a concept of cognitive behavior therapy, which is a very well-established, well-known psychology element, which says that as human beings, we like it. We are calm and relaxed when things are going according to what we think we know. And I say it like that because not everything that we have upstairs is actually true all the time. But nobody started this year thinking we're going to be wearing masks, we're going to have to stay at home, possibly lose our jobs, possibly lose loved ones, possibly end up in hospital, all this kind of stuff. So when things don't go according to plan, according to what we think should be, we start distorting, we start disliking. And that's where CBT comes in, or cognitive behavior therapy. And it says to us, that's when we start getting unhappy. That's when we start experiencing things like the Coronacoaster, where our emotions go up and down. Because what are we doing? We're trying to make sense of things that don't make sense. Because for us, they don't make sense, because that's not what was supposed to be going on. That's not what was supposed to happen right now. So surely it must be wrong. Unfortunately, it isn't wrong in that it is reality. It is what is happening. I hope for everybody that makes a whole lot of sense. So what can we do about this? I think this is probably why a lot of people are looking at this. One of them is we need to start living and looking rather at being grateful or having gratitude. A lot of these points you'll see kind of fit into each other and kind of work with each other. For example, the next one is focus on the present. Now, if we mix those two up, we say focus on gratitude. In other words, look at what I have rather than what I don't have. Look at what I've possibly gained or at least did not lose rather than the things that I have lost. That's gratitude. Focus on the present. Focus on What is going on? And this is a big one. Control what you can. In our daily lives, when we talked earlier about feeling out of control, feeling isolated, feeling anxious, one of the biggest aspects of anxiety is feeling out of control, is feeling like I can't handle this. So if you start taking care of the things that you can do, that you are in control of, doesn't matter how minuscule or insignificant it might seem. A little while ago, there was a thing on Facebook that was a military guy that talked about make your bed. Start your day by making your bed. It seems very insignificant. It seems like it doesn't matter. It actually does. Even if it is making your bed. It's something that you are in control of. It's something that you can take care of. So start dealing with the things that you can do rather than focusing on the things that you can't do. Apparently, we got a question.
Okay, so dear Eddie asks, can one just put aside incomplete intentions?
Uh, I'm hoping when you say put aside, you don't mean suppress, because suppressed is a bad thing. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's not a good idea. So just putting it aside, I'm wondering if you're saying putting it on hold. I wouldn't do that because if you put it on hold, it remains. And what we want to do at the moment is we want to either get rid of it or complete it, and by completing it, get rid of it. So I would go with one of those two options instead of putting it aside, as in putting it on hold or putting it on ice. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so focusing on the present, control what you can, deal with what is and not what was, even if it's bad, even if it feels negative, even if it's not the greatest thing happening today. Rather deal with that than sitting and wondering or hoping or dreaming about what used to be. The reason for that is I can't do anything with that. I can't work with that. I can't change anything about that. So if I deal with what is right now, if I deal with what is going on, at least I have a sense of control. At least I have a sense of I'm doing something progressive, I'm doing something positive, which does bring an amount of calm. And for a lot of us, when we succeed in things, it brings about certain chemicals which makes us feel good as well. I want everybody that is looking at this, listen up for just a second. If I've started boring you, which I hope I haven't, but please realize that you're not alone. One of the worst things that we sometimes go through when we have illnesses, when we're going through bad times, is that we feel isolated, we feel alone. Realize that you're not alone. Everyone that I have spoken to, all the things that I have read, says very much the same thing. Everybody's going through more or less the same stuff. Feeling alone, feeling isolated, going up and down on this roller coaster, feeling good one minute, feeling bad the next. You are not alone. If you start reaching out via technology to other people and start talking about this, you'll realize that you are not alone. And whenever that feeling comes about, please remind yourself that no, I am not alone. One of the things that is very important at the moment, we all are in a little bit of a panic, a little bit of anxiety about what's going to happen next regarding finances, what's going to happen regarding jobs and opportunities and stuff like that. Instead of trying to create things that are not there in a very limited space at the moment. Not saying it's impossible, but it is limited. A good idea is to deepen and nurture relationships that you have at the moment. So when a friend, family member, colleague, business partner has a good idea, hey, let me rather speak to my good colleague, good friend, good business partner that I've got a deep connection with, than finding someone else or finding someone new. So really nurture and deepen relationships that you have at the moment. As it plays a double role. Not only do you have that contact, be it via um, uh, online connection or otherwise, at least there's a connection. In other words, we're not alone. And also, it nurtures that relationship so that people, when opportunities do arise, when they do have something that can help for the future, they can deal with that. I'm going to remind you once again, now that I've used the word future. Right now, at the moment, I'm not saying don't take care of your future. In other words, continue looking out for your old age, have your policies and all those kind of things in place. But don't focus there. Focus on today. Focus on now. That's a healthier option at the moment. So focus on what is and not what was, rather than looking at what we've gained, rather than looking at what we've lost. And then this term has been thrown around, new normal. Guys, the new normal is not simply that corona is real or that we have to wear masks. The new normal is also accepting what is, as I've mentioned, and that plays a role on a daily basis. If you really want to get philosophical about it, we can't have a new normal every day because new things happen to us on a daily basis. But generally speaking, we have a new normal at the moment. As far as we can tell, this is not going away very soon. So we can do one of two things regarding this new normal business. And it's like anything new in our lives. The more you kick against it, the more you fight it, the longer it takes for us to get used to it. The sooner we accept it, that it is so, it is real, it's happening, and start working with it. Start doing the things that we can do. Some of the stuff that I've mentioned, gratitude, not being alone, reaching out, nurturing your relationships. The sooner we start doing that, the more we will calm down a bit. The more a lot of these elements of this roller coaster will start dissipating. The more we expect newness and learn to live with that newness, the easier that day will become, instead of waking up every morning hoping that it will be like it used to be, because that's not going to happen. Brings us to the next point. Stop attempting to gain control and start focusing on managed responses. If we're honest with ourselves, and I sincerely hope this doesn't cause panic, but if we're really truly honest with ourselves, we are really in control of very little. So we need to stop pretending and stop trying to control everything. We can't really. We can't control the numbers of new patients, the numbers of deaths, the numbers of places closing down. We can't control that. We can control ourselves, and we can control our responses to what happens to us on a daily basis. So start managing your responses. Instead of, for example, just one example, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction to something, running around in a panic, stop for a moment, take a breath, look at the reality of it, look at what's really going on, and then start reacting by first planning and then moving from there and taking care of it, I want to say in a step-by-step manner rather than in a haphazard manner. Some more things that we can do, perhaps on a daily basis, perhaps on an hourly basis. One of the things you want to teach yourself is a nice breathing exercise. When those little anxiety gremlins just get too much, and there's just too many of them, and they do get the better of you, one of the easiest things to do is to close your eyes, take a nice deep breath through your nose, feel how your stomach expands, and then exhale through your mouth and feel how it contracts again. It's called abdominal breathing. It's very simple, and you can just continue doing that. Guys, I just want to check with you. It says we're having trouble playing this video. Are we still okay? All right, awesome. So doing a breathing exercise like that, if you go on the internet, there's 100 of them. There's one where you pretend to blow out a candle that works well as well. Journaling is a really good idea. Again, facing the reality, facing your day by day, and journaling about it. The next point there is an outlet. Now you can use journaling as an outlet. It's a really good idea to get your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, even your hopes and dreams down on paper. Why? Because it's cathartic. We get it out. Instead of it just festering and running around our head, we get it out on paper. And you don't have to be a professional writer. You literally just put pen to paper and just get it out. It really, as I say, is cathartic. It really works, and it really is very, very helpful. Then communicate. If you are sharing a space with someone, be it at work, be it at home, talk. This is how I'm feeling right now. A lot of the time, just saying, you know what, I'm really nervous. actually makes it better, actually makes you feel a little bit calmer. You know what? I'm really worried about today, or I'm really worried about going on. Have a 10-minute conversation about it. Get it out. Feel better about it. But it's especially important, I want to say, in relationships. Honey, I'm not feeling good today. Or I'm bothered today. Or hey, you know what? I'm in a really good mood. That's a good one as well. We also need to stop focusing only on the negative. And as I said earlier, part and parcel of that gratitude is also to be grateful for the things that are happening that are still good. Being mindful of yourself, being aware when it's time to take a break, when it's time to say, I need a break, when it's time to go and have a walk in the garden, when it's time perhaps, even though we are some of us scared, am I going to still have a job tomorrow, to say, boss, manager, supervisor, I need 5 minutes. I need a day off. I need an afternoon off. Things are just too much. We're all busy. We're all running around. But it's important to communicate. Important in your family, at your job, and to others. And of course, communication is important in general. Talking to others is a good idea. We all go to the shops. You know what? If there's no one else to talk to, do your meter and a half or your 2 meter gap. But chat to the guy behind you. How are you going? Where are you on the coaster today? And if they don't know about it, tell them to come and watch this. So also, it would be a good idea to limit social media and exposure to news and information in general. I don't want you to be out in the cold, but an overload and mixed messages can become just too much. And of course, unfortunately, we are sitting with so much fake news, so much nonsense. So before you react, we spoke about reacting a minute ago. Before you react, do your level best to see, am I dealing with reality or not? As far as news and reports and things like that are going. So first do that. But also, if you want to know the figures, go look at the figures and get out of there. If you want to quickly see if your friend liked your picture on Facebook, go do that and get off. Don't read every post. Don't look at every news article. It can become overwhelming and it just is too much for us sometimes. One more, another question, yeah.
Daniel asked, for how long should we do the breathing exercises?
There's a minimum, I would say, of about 4 to 5 minutes, minimum, or otherwise until you feel yourself calming down. Thanks for the question, by the way. And if you go on the internet, there's a bunch of other calming exercises that you can do. One that popped into my head right now, it's called the Jacobson method. If you go onto YouTube, you'll find it there as well. But as far as breathing goes, either until you find yourself back to a calm, settled place again, or at least 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. Another question. Excellent.
JC and Annette asked, how do we know if news are fake or not?
There's actually a website, and I'm really trying to remember the actual URL now, that reports and tells the origin of fake news. I can't for the life of me. If you Google it, something like fake news website, it will actually come up. You'll find it. That's one way of doing it. Another way is to just ask a few people, have you heard of this? And the moment you get conflicting reports, or, yeah, I heard it was in Durban. Oh, no, wait, I heard it was in Cape Town, or something like that. Or, guys, let's be honest. If it sounds too much or it sounds too good to be true, like the one that did the rounds, it's not relevant right now, but a very well-known brand is giving away 100,000 Rand to everyone that visits this website. Come on. We would have known about that. It would have been a huge splash everywhere you looked. So if it sounds iffy, then take it with a pinch of salt. But as I say, there is a website. And then also if it's news related, go and see if you can find it on a news outlet, I want to say registered or well-known news outlet, and see if they are reporting it as well. That's a few of the ways that you can actually go and see if it's fake or if it's not fake. I want to say a lot of the stuff that comes past on places like WhatsApp. My uncle's auntie's grandmother in Pitsonabata told me about this. take it with a pinch of salt. All right. Last thing I want to share with you guys is actually something that Vista has been talking about for a long time, and it does work. It's called Happiness Helps. HELPS is an acronym. It stands for helping others, exercise, learning, playing, and spiritual growth. And all of these elements are actually very worthwhile and very valuable. When we help other people, we help ourselves. Why? Because when I look at other people's issues, sometimes mine don't look as bad. And by helping someone, I feel a little bit better about myself. Exercise, always a good idea. 30 minutes a day. Some of us are not doing much, even if you have to walk around your garden a bit, but get 30 minutes in. You like yourself for it a lot more. Plus, it helps with anxiety, it helps with depression, and frankly, it helps with the waistband as well. Then learning, learn something new every day. Not necessarily news. Use this time, I don't know, learn a new language or brush up on old languages or learn some fun facts rather than the depressing stuff that we're looking at every single day. And then play. Whether you're playing with your kids or you're playing on your own, have a bit of fun. It is serious. Everything that's happening is really serious. A lot of it's very negative. So find time to have a bit of fun. And I mean silly fun, silly things within the boundaries perhaps of work or perhaps where you are, but have a bit of fun. Laugh. It actually is really good. And then spiritual growth. For a lot of people, religion itself is a really beautiful anchor. Use that if that's something that you want to, if that's something that you do, please use it. It is good for you. But another aspect of spiritual growth is taking care of you. And a part of that is a lot of stuff that I've mentioned already. Journaling, taking care of yourself, being aware of your own thoughts and feelings, being honest about those thoughts and feelings, and being able to grow spiritually from that perspective. And that, basically, everything I want to say to you guys. There's actually a lot more, but everything we have time for today. I sincerely hope this helps. I sincerely hope that everyone that dialed in got something out of this. And I want to invite you, you can please contact us if your company, a group of people, even if it's a family or a group of friends, it doesn't matter. We like doing talks like this. We want to get the message out there. We want to get people informed. And of course, we want people to have better mental health. So you can call us at Vista Academy. Our telephone number is 012-664-0222, or you can email us at communitytalks@vistaacademy.co.za. So please contact us. We would really love to chat to you. And again, thank you so very, very much for everybody that was watching this. And I hope you have a stunning, stunning, stunning day.